welcome back to the Sports Countdown podcast with Declan Hughes and me, Peter Lynch. Euro 2020 will be kicking off this time next week as Turkey take on Italy. Football world is absolutely buzzing, of course. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. Before we kick things off here, just a quick shout out to Freelance Football Ops, Greek group who you can find on LinkedIn and Twitter. They source football media roles, so if you're looking, give them a shout. So, yes, Declan, on to the Euros. Obviously, a huge one for you as a Scotland fan. You know, first major tournament since 1998 World Cup in France and first Euros since 1996. So, how are you feeling?
Buzzing, mate. Just very surreal that it's actually happening, you know, I don't remember Scotland ever being in a major tournament. You mentioned 96 was when I was born, so I was 2 the last time we were at the World Cup, 98, so obviously don't have any recollection of that. And then it's just been, since I can remember, a lot of heartache, a lot of heartbreak, not being able to qualify. Always, a couple of times almost been there. I think we were in the group with Italy. We conceded right at the death against them at Hampden and we didn't qualify. And then recently you've got groups, or just the Scotland way of doing well against the better teams in your group, and then there's always the one team that we should win against and we drop points or we lose and it comes back to haunt us. So to finally go over the line and be able to support my country at a major tournament it's just going to be a surreal feeling. I'm really buzzing, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, having been there and done it with Northern Ireland a few years ago, I can say there's no better feeling in the world, honestly.
I remember it well when you qualified as well when we were at uni together. So it's my turn now, right?
I know, I've had my time in the limelight. On to you boys now.
Yep. Buzzing. Right.
So
groups, I know. Groups, a lot of interesting, some tough groups out there, some maybe not as much. So what we thought we would do is this week we're just going to go through the groups and we're going to see who we think will be the top dog in the group. So we're going to start with Group A, Pete. So A, we've got Italy, Switzerland, Turkey and Wales. Seems a pretty competitive group. So who do you think, in your opinion, who's going to be the number one to come out of that group?
Italy are my pick for potential winners of the tournament. So, I mean, that might surprise a few people. I know everyone's talking about France and, of course, their squad. You know, it's clear to see why. They'll obviously be there at the end of it. I think, but I think Italy also as well. So I think they'll top the group. You know, maybe we'll get a repeat of that 2006 World Cup final, Italy and France, the famous Zidane headbutt. I mean, Italy under Mancini, unbeaten in their last 26 games. It's a run that stretches back to 2018. I feel no real stars in their team compared to other countries, but it's plenty of youth and experience. So yeah, for me that's Group A. It's got Italy written all over it. So yeah, moving quickly on to Group B. That is Belgium, Denmark, Finland, and Russia. Again, an interesting mix of countries. So, how do you see this one panning out?
I think it's obvious Belgium are probably going to top that group just with the talent that they've got in there. Again, a team that will probably expect to go far in the tournament, will be setting their sights on actually winning, especially with this generation of players that they have. I think it'd be disappointing if they don't manage to capitalise and win a major tournament. So I would expect Belgium to win every game in there. But as we kind of said before, it's a really competitive group between the other three. I think that's going to be really tough to... I don't think I could sit here and tell you who will finish second because all three of them have got... Again, just kind of like you said with Italy, I don't think there's a lot of standouts in those squads. I know Christian Eriksen's at Denmark, but with all those, they've got... It'll be like a squad that's all united together. They're not going to rely on, like, I don't know, like a Zlatan or something. Like Portugal would maybe be Ronaldo for a long time, So I think that's going to be a really interesting group to see who can join Belgium in the knockout stages. So Belgium's the obvious pick, but the rest of that group's really tough. And moving on to C, probably a little bit more difficult here. So we've got Austria, we've got Holland, we've got North Macedonia, we've got Ukraine. What's happening in this group, Pete?
Could be North Macedonia top in this one.
You'd love to see it.
No disrespect to them. Nah, it's a really weird one for me because I think Netherlands, they're definitely not as fearsome as they used to be. They had, remember, once upon a time it was Wesley Sneijder, Robin, Van Nistelrooy, Van Persie. I mean, you look at their squad now and it just doesn't have the same feel to it. But saying that, I think they'll be disappointed if they don't finish top of this group. But I think it could be one of those ones that surprise people. Ukraine could be one to watch, in my opinion. And I'm going to stick my neck out and say that they'll top this group. They've been going pretty well under Shevchenko, the man himself. So, actually, but yeah, moving quickly on to Group D in case I'm wrong about that one, because Austria also a decent side. Northern Ireland and Scotland have played them a lot recently, and we know what they're all about. Obviously, David Alaba as well. He just lost recently to England in a friendly. Maybe doesn't mean as much, but yeah, that's a tough one to call. But if I had to pick someone, I'd pick Ukraine to top that group. So yeah, on to Group D. It's a big one for you. Just if you can be as unbiased as possible in this, please. It is Croatia, Czech Republic, England, and the Scots.
So Scotland to top that group, 9 points. No, in all honestly, it's a really tough. I think it's a tough group. A lot of people might write off Czech Republic, but I'm not one for just ruling them out as a team that all the other three teams will win against. So I wouldn't be surprised if Czech get some points, and it's our first game as well. So it's a must win. So there's a lot of pressure on us to win that game. So we'll have to be at our best to actually get the points there. But you would assume England. You would assume England would win that group, but they can't beat. They've not beat Croatia, and the last time they played Croatia, they lost. Right?
Yeah, remember it well.
There we go. Mandzukic, what a legend. Gave me a lot of joy that summer. So Croatia again, you'd say obviously like generational. They've got a lot of good players in there. They've got like Modric, we said Mandzukic, you've got Kovacic. So they've got a talented squad. So you wouldn't rule Croatia out to be a team that could possibly win that group as well. And obviously my own country, I'm hoping that we can get through in what is a tough group. But to win it, I'm not going to say England will win the group. I'm going to say Croatia will win the group, Scotland will finish second, England third, and Czech Republic fourth.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
But a controversial in those last two from us, so I'm sure they'll come back to bite us.
Yeah.
Very good. Right, Group E then, where this will be another tough group again. Like I guess we've been saying this for a lot of competitive teams in here. So we've got Poland, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think Spain should feel pretty comfortable going into this one, to be honest. I think maybe those three that you mentioned, Sweden, Poland, and Slovakia, maybe they might even be happy to settle for second place. I know that sounds a bit silly, but I mean, you know that it's quality that Spain have and their history in major tournaments. So it is an interesting Spain squad, though, and I think we'll touch on that a bit later. But I mean, for me, it has to be Spain top in that group. They're obviously giants of European football, so yeah, and in the World Cups as well. So see what happens. But I think we've left the toughest one for you last. It's every competition has one, the so-called group of death, and that's definitely Group F here. You've got France, you've got Germany, Hungary, and Portugal. So if you can try and pick out a winner there.
I mean, it really could go any way. Do you know what I mean? It's probably going to come down to goal difference. I think it's going to be really, really tight. I think everybody will assume that Hungary's going to get 0 points in that group, which I feel really bad for them, but it's probably what's going to happen for them.
Yeah.
The other three, France's depth and squad's just phenomenal. They're like, you wouldn't put it past France winning it. I know, like when you get to the latter stages, it's knockout, and it's going to be really, it's just how you turn up on the day. But that squad's just immense. So they're probably the favourites for the tournament. I would assume. Germany, I've just got a feeling Germany might not be as strong or as good as they have been in the past. I think that's a squad that is aging a little bit as well, kind of like the way like Croatia, some of their top players are into their 30s as well. I feel as though Germany although they're bringing through a lot of good young players, but I'm a little bit worried for them in terms of how far they can go in this tournament, and they might not make. I know we're saying third place could possibly make it through, so they might still squeak through, but I think they'll finish third in this group because I think Portugal are a team that have got a lot of. Now it's not just the Ronaldo show, you've got a lot of good players that are in there. Obviously, Bruno, we talked a little about him a couple of weeks ago, how much an impact he's made at Man U. You'd assume he'll do the same thing with Portugal. So, and then a lot of the guys at Wolves as well, we've got some talented players in there that'll be in the Euro squad. So I think Portugal will finish second in that group, and I'm going to say France. I think France will come out on top. I think they'll win all three of their games, and then it'll come down to how Germany and Portugal fare against. But then I would assume all three will probably go through, maybe. But that's just such a tough group to call. It really could go either way, and maybe Hungary will actually be the determined factor in it if they can manage to take anything from any of those three games that they have. So it's going to be really interesting, really competitive, and I guess we'll be really excited. At least every time that group plays, you're going to have two top teams facing each other. So exciting group, a lot of talent, a lot of world class players in there. So tough one, but I think we'll say France might come out there on top.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really interesting one. Definitely, one to keep an eye on. So yeah, you kind of just touched on it there briefly about the squads involved in this tournament. There's been a lot of major stories in the build-up, and one of them has definitely been England's situation, particularly with right backs. It's much of the talk was on whether Trent Alexander-Arnold would be included. He has been included, of course, but he's since been ruled out with a thigh injury. So I mean, it's a disappointment for him, but I think it's a chance for one of the other 30 right backs, to make their mark in the squad. You have Reece James, Kieran Trippier, both in contention. I feel Kyle Walker might be used as a centre back in a back three, but we'll see what Southgate does. But what do you make of that situation?
I think they're going to play a back five. You're saying like a three centre back and then wing backs. I'd assume that's what they're going to do, just due to the amount of defenders that they've got in the squad. Not a lot of midfielders in there, and then more forward players, like a couple of strikers and your wingers. So I'd assume they're going to play like a 5-2-3 formation with wing backs.
Yeah.
So Kyle Walker can play as like the right-sided centre back just because of the pace that he's got, and he's played there for England, and I think he's done a job for Man City in there as well. So I mean, even Reece James played there I think Reece James played there in the Chelsea in the FA Cup final against Leicester. So I mean, that's another option. Yep. You could swap between those two. So if they're going to line up with five at the back against Scotland, then I'd fancy we've got a chance to possibly do something there. Like, you'd assume it'd be Scotland that would put five, and I think we will go five. So it might just be us matching up against them, and not that we've got better players than them, but I think that gives us a really good chance if that is what they're going to do, because the England squad's really talented going forward. There's 4 or 5 different attacking options they could play in the three. You know what I mean? There's just so much talent up there. That's where the worry is. Defensively, I know Harry Maguire's going in with a knock as well, and if he's not there, then I think their centre of defence is really is a weak point, and that's something that, as obviously as a Scotland fan that we're in their group, is something that all the teams will probably be looking to exploit. So this is a big tournament for England and a big tournament for Gareth Southgate, because if he doesn't get it right, especially with the controversy in his team selection, if this goes horribly wrong and my prediction's right and they finish third and possibly don't go through, it could be curtains for him. But it's very, we know England are always hyped to be the winners of, or they expect themselves to go really far and win this tournament, but they've got a good squad, but compared to some of the other ones that we've mentioned, I don't think they are one of the top teams to win it, but anybody can win these tournaments, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens, but I mean, really, I think a team on paper, I think it's capable of winning the tournament, in all honesty, but
it's maybe we said that. We said that when they had Frank Lampard and Gerrard and Scholes and Beckham and Rooney. Do you know what I mean? So Ferdinand, Terry, all of this. the squad they've got now is nowhere near as good as that team was on paper.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. So we'll see for Gareth what decision he goes for, and as you say, he could be in trouble come July. And that leads us on perfectly to another man who could be in major trouble if it doesn't go well for him with his squad selection. That's Luis Enrique, Spain manager. That was another talking point. No Real Madrid players in the Spain squad in a major tournament for the first time ever.
Wow.
I think it was maybe the last time it was as low. It was maybe just one player, so it's never been zero. Big call from him. I think he might be quite an unpopular man right now. But it could be a genius move. But I think if it backfires, I think he loses his job. Simple as that. So what do you make of that call with the likes of Ram and those guys missing out?
See, that's another team that's like, I think they've had like a fall from grace recently. Again, a generation where Spain were untouchable. 2 Euros and a World Cup back to back to back. Like, obviously, that's such a peak. You might never see that again. But a lot of he's given, to be fair to him, he's given opportunities to other players in the La Liga that are at like Valencia, Villarreal, Sevilla, who probably deserve a call up. I think everybody just assumes that the El Clasico players that are Spanish are just automatically going to go into that Spain squad. And there's obviously been rumours that there could be a bit of conflict in there between them. Obviously, I think people come out and said that it might not be true, but I mean, you just never know with stuff like that, So that could be a reasoning, but I just think there's been a lot of great performers in La Liga and other Spanish players that might be more deserving of a place in there. I know it's such a tough, when you leave out Sergio Ramos, it's obviously very, very controversial. Even Vázquez, who's been fairly solid this year as well. But Madrid have been disappointing this season, and so have Barcelona. Is Piqué in the squad? Do you know?
No, I think he's retired.
Is he retired as well? Right. So, but I mean, we've obviously highlighted how well. Now my memories just went blank. Ruben Diaz, is he Spanish? Is he Spanish?
No, he's Portuguese.
Is he Portuguese? Right, never mind then. So who's the centre backs then?
They have Pau Torres, who we talked about from Villarreal last time.
That's what I'm saying. Like guys like
That's
that. Yeah.
Fun.
Is the Man City boy who just went to Barcelona in there? Garcia? No.
Garcia, he might be in there. Yeah, he might be.
This is my sheer lack of knowledge of that squad, but no, like when we're saying that, you maybe would still expect Ramos to be in there just because he's so experienced and he's won Champions Leagues, La Ligas. He was part of the squad that won the Euros, the World Cup. So I agree with you. If this goes horribly wrong, and I think Spain are another team like Germany who might not be as influential and as powerful as they once were. So if he struggles Spain will be expecting to get to the semis and stuff, but if you come up against a France or a Belgium, and even in England, you never know. Like it could be bad for them. So I worry for him. It's ballsy. You've got to give him credit. It might pay off, given these younger guys or these other guys deserving maybe more informed than Sergio Ramos was, because he was injured for a part of the season, a chance. So risky, but again, we just need to wait and see what happens with
it. Just came back to me there and got it up. Aymeric Laporte has switched allegiance from France to Spain, and he's in the Spain squad this summer.
Really? Wow.
You knew there was a City defender. It just wasn't Diaz, but yeah, Laporte's going to be starting alongside Torres, I think. And Garcia's in there as well, but yeah.
And he didn't make an appearance for France?
They honestly made some rule change, I think, and he might have benefited from it, where if you haven't played maybe over a certain amount of games before the age of 21, I think you can switch. I mean, it happens every day in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Maybe not as big as this.
Very true. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
there you go.
That strengthens them drastically though, because Laporte's a good player, and then obviously me getting Diaz wrong, that makes Portugal even stronger as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So very good, very interesting. Right, We'll move on.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about young players, because we know that many young players they've had a tendency to shine in these major tournaments. We saw it at the World Cup a few years ago. James Rodriguez, we talked about this, had a sensational World Cup for Colombia and got a big move to Real Madrid. So we've obviously got players like Mbappe and Phil Foden, and even Ruben Diaz as well, another young guy, who are obviously at the top level already at such a young age. But do you think, or do you see any young players for other countries that maybe aren't quite at the top level of the game, but you think they'll have an impressive tournament and then attract the likes of the top teams in England, Spain, Germany and stuff? Do you think you'll see any players there in the summer?
Yeah, absolutely. I picked out a few. Starting with Ryan Gravenberch from Netherlands. He's 19 years old, holding midfielder. He's already 2 Dutch league titles and 2 Dutch Cups with Ajax. And he's one of those, academy graduates from there. And a lot of those players have obviously come over to the Premier League. Ziyech, the Van de Beek at United. So yeah, he could be the next one. Another guy is Alexander Isak for Sweden, big Swedish striker, tall. Not Zlatan, but he could be. He could be the next Zlatan for Sweden. Zlatan's obviously missing out this summer through an injury, so yeah, I think he's going to be the main man for goals there. He had a spell at Dortmund, but it didn't work out for him. But they hit 17 La Liga goals this season for Real Sociedad, so definitely one to watch out for. Another one closer to home is David Turnbull at Celtic. I don't want to upset you, but I mean, he's had a really impressive season at Celtic. It took a bit of time for, I think, the club to see his potential. Maybe, he might not get a lot of game time at Scotland with the midfielders in there, and I mean, if they don't make it out of the group, then he's not going to get much game time. But I think we know what Celtic can do with the Van Dijk's come through there, Stuart Armstrong have come through there, so he could be another one. And last but not least is Jeremy Doku, a 19-year-old winger from Belgium. There's a lot of excitement around here with him. He came through at Anderlecht, but joined Rennes last year, and he's already hit 2 goals for Belgium. So he's going to be an exciting talent to watch as well. I think obviously if they have their starting 11, he might not even start, but I think he's a great option off the bench. He's obviously still really young, so he's going to be one to watch, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you've just mentioned a lot of players that I think I try and scout on FIFA all the time. All these young guys that you've mentioned there,
There you go.
But, very good. Is there any players that maybe are a little bit older that are playing at a decent level, but they might impress for their country and get a top move? So I'm thinking the likes of John McGinn at Aston Villa. He's obviously been touted as our best player, a star player to watch. So do you think, is there any players like that you could just think at the top of your head, like John McGinn, if he's a really good tournament, could you see John going to maybe make the step up, maybe going to like a Spurs or an Arsenal, try and make that next step up in that ladder?
Yeah, I mean, there's some huge ones. I mean, Gino Wijnaldum, Liverpool, for example. I think he's as good as gone from Anfield this summer. I'm not sure if he's committed to Barcelona or Bayern Munich. They've both been linked, so I think it's still a chance for him. Mm-hmm. Even Gareth Bale is another one. I think he might be without a club if Madrid don't fancy keeping him.
Yeah.
It depends how Ancelotti. Obviously, he's back there now, so it depends how he sees him. Maybe Nicolo Barella is another one, Italy midfielder. He's at Inter Milan, but actually been linked with Liverpool, so that's why I'm kind of keeping a close eye on that one. Maybe a replacement for Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be one I would pick out, definitely.
So like for me, you mentioned Sweden there with the young striker, but we also talked about Jordan Larsson being in that squad, who's had a really impressive season at Spartak Moscow. So I think there's going to be a lot of clubs looking to see how he does in the summer with Sweden if he gets some game time. Mm-hmm. And if he manages to impress, then that might be another player that would make the move to one of the top leagues as well. And I'm even going to say, I'm just focusing on like a Scottish point of view here, but even Kieran Tierney, if he has a really, really good summer, I struggle to see Arsenal possibly holding on to him. I think there's been rumours about Man City been looking at him. I mean, I even think he he could go to the top teams in La Liga as well. He's that good. So if
Mm.
he has the summer that, if he's the summer that I know, well, a lot of fans know that he can have, then it could even be a big summer for him, even though he's only been at Arsenal for a couple of years. So a lot to look out for. And then we've discussed, these are chances for clubs. You mentioned Liverpool. I would assume the same for Celtic. For every club is to try and find a gem in here for maybe one of the smaller teams, even like North Macedonia. If you can find a player there, you know, that just stands out, that maybe other clubs aren't looking at, then you're just trying to find a diamond in the rough. So again, looking forward to the see what happens.
Another one in Scotland there beside Tierney, I would say Jack Hendry.
Yeah.
He's leaving Celtic, I think, and I think Ostende here again in Belgium, they really like him, but I think their aim, honestly, is to sign him for cheap and then sell him on for a big fee. So I think he's been with a few Premier League clubs, Aston Villa.
You just every week we seem to throw Celtic in here, and it just upsets me because it's something that we've done horribly wrong this season.
Sorry, but...
is the fact that we threw this guy under the bus. Was like, there's no way he's going there to do well. We'll put a 2 million clause on there, and he'll probably not go because we don't rate him that highly. He's had a great season. They're going to sign him for 2 million, and I'm hearing, like you're saying, like I've even heard Leeds are interested and they're going to pay 10. So it's just again. I don't want to talk. I'm just going to be depressed. I've got my Scotland jersey on today. I don't want to talk about Celtic. I don't want to think about them for the next next few weeks, because we've not even talked about the whole manager. I don't want to talk about it. Let's get moving swiftly on here to the top three.
Move on.
So Pete, this is just going to be at you. You're my Euros man this summer. So we've mentioned some young players that might come out, be a diamond in the rough. So now we're going to talk about the teams. So I want your top 3 dark horses in this competition that you think can make a mark. What we got?
Yep, you just talked about them right there. Sweden, they're my number 3rd choice. With Larsson, they're obviously involved. They have Isak up front, as I mentioned. He's going to be their main man. Kulusevski from Juventus, Forsberg from Leipzig. So I think they've got a lot of talent in there. And maybe the biggest thing of all is their group. That's the one with Spain in it. So maybe again they settle for a spot in second, but I think they might have enough to edge past Poland and Slovakia. So yeah, Sweden's my number 3. Number 2, also talked about them earlier, Ukraine. So they, again, a lot of talented guys across Europe. They have Malinovsky from Atlanta, Zinchenko from City, who might even be their captain this summer.
Yep.
Yarmolenko as well from West Ham. And going back a bit, even for their qualifying group, maybe it feels like a long time ago now, but they actually they topped the qualifying group with Portugal and Serbia, and they didn't lose a single game. So that's probably the main reason why they're right up there for me. But number 1, my main men are Turkey.
Nice.
They actually have the youngest squad in the entire tournament, and I think more importantly, they have, I think I saw a graph somewhere, they've played the least amount of football on average this season. So I mean, you think about how long the season's been, it could come down to fitness. You know what I mean? Yep. So, and then they have the likes of, we've seen their players in the Premier League, Soyuncu, Under at Leicester, Kabak at Liverpool. But they're much more than that. They have a couple of Serie A guys, Demiral from Juventus, Hakan Çalhanoğlu from Milan, set piece specialist, and finally Burak Yilmaz, absolute legend of the game. He's 35 years old, hit 16 goals in League One this season as Lille, and they won the league. So in Ligue 1. So yeah, what a story that was. But yeah, I think Turkey are my side to watch, and they're in that group with Italy. Yeah, but the worst thing is they're playing Italy first up on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think they could have a decent tournament.
No, I agree, and there's a lot of teams just from looking at it that could be underdogs. Like if they could just get out that group, even a team that might finish 3rd could possibly go on to have a good tournament. I mean, you didn't even mention Austria have obviously got a really good squad. I think competitive, not a lot of standouts. Obviously, David Alaba's there, but just a unit that works well together. Switzerland are probably in the same kind of boat. I'd even say the same with Scotland. We've not got a Gareth Bale or like a Harry Kane It's just a squad of players that hopefully can get a tune out of them, can just know how to play well together. We had a good result against Holland there the other night, 2-2, probably should have won. So positive signs for my country. So I'm rooting for us, but as you said, there's a lot of good teams out there, and it would be nice if an underdog actually did it this year. Obviously, it's exciting to see France, Belgium, England, all these teams, Germany, but it'd be nice to see a maybe an underdog story like we had in 2004 when Greece won it. So, do you think that's something that could happen? One of these other teams, yeah.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, you think back to that 2004, like Greece. How on earth have they won that? It's great to see. Even Portugal won in 2016. Yes, wasn't it? I mean, they had no right to win. I don't think that with that squad they had, and with Ronaldo injured, the teams they were coming up against. So, yeah, it would be great to see. But I mean, I think it's hard to see past France. I know I've talked about Italy, but France are definitely the main men, I think, this summer. But yeah, they're huge favourites. But it would be nice to see. They could go out in the group straight away, which would be really interesting. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. We know it starts a week today, so we're buzzing with it. And we'll just give you a little shout out to what's happening next week then. So we'll have a special episode next week. So we're going to do a sweepstake for the Euros. We've got 26 teams in it. So we've got 24. Goodness me, I'm having a nightmare today. 24 teams in there. So next week we're going to broadcast that as our episode. So Peter, you'll be drawing the names of our competitors, and I'll be drawing the teams. So that's going to be with us next week, and we'll obviously discuss a little bit of the teams as they come out and what we rate of the squad, So stay tuned for that next week. It's going to be really excited. We're really excited for it. So it's going to be fun times, and we've got, as we said, Euros in the summer. We're buzzing for it. Just make sure that you check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you watch those videos and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And again, thank you for your support. And we'll see you all next week for the start of the Euros. Take care.